My name is Pat McHale. I was born in Ireland and I grew up in a place called Ferrisgill in County Longford. My uncle brought me to England when I was 17 to Leamington Spa, and I've lived and worked here ever since. Whether it's engraving a printing block, chipping away at a piece of stone, or painting a landscape or portrait, I make my art for the sheer pleasure I get from creating something. My studio, which you see here, is the front basement room of my home in Leamington. The room is a separate entrance from the outside front and a small cloakroom facility inside for washing brushes, etc. This also doubles up as my drinks cupboard, as you may have noticed. In this studio space I make my paintings, carve my printing blocks. I also cut my own mounts and make my own picture frames from wood that I get machined by a local joiner. I buy my glass and have it cut to size by a local glazer. I use acrylic paints in my work, and the painting you can see me working on at the moment is for a commission. I'm sure all artists will agree that much as we love what we do, it's great when someone wants to pay you for it. And as an artist friend of mine said to me recently, the greatest compliment you can have is when someone wants to buy a piece of your work. On the walls of my studio are various woodcuts and wood engravings and printing blocks that I did while I was at Birmingham City Uni. The 4 wood engravings are part of the work for my MA. The images were inspired by the poem The Stolen Child by W.B. Yeats. I have been greatly inspired by the work of Irish artist Sean Scully, and you can see images of some of his coloured blocks dotted around the room. Going upstairs to our sitting room, which also doubles up as my gallery, you can see my recent paintings. If you ask me what my work is about, I would say simply about beauty. The great beauty of the world that surrounds us, if only we take the time to look. And where on this earth is there more natural beauty to be found than in the Burren in the west of Ireland? All the paintings in this room were inspired by my visits to the Flaggy Shore and Loch Murray, famously described by Seamus Heaney in Postscript as a place that would catch the heart off guard and blow it open. The painting that gave me the most pleasure to do is this one I have called Cunis. It is inspired by a walk I did along the Flaggy Shore at 6 a.m. on a beautiful morning in August. There wasn't a soul in sight, and I was totally captivated by the stillness of the scene and the reflections in the water just as the sun was rising. I like to think that I've managed to capture some of that sense of peace and silence in this painting. In the small area of garden at the back of our home, I work on my stone carving. The piece you see me working on here is a shallow relief landscape in Irish limestone. The large piece with the balanced stone was a sculpture I made in my first year at art college. The cowpat in limestone was inspired by Búile Suibhne, an old Irish legend from 637 AD, and this was a part of the work I did for my BA in 2017. When I retired 6.5 years ago, I attended the local college for 2 years and did a diploma in fine art. I then went on to Birmingham City University to get my BA. I stayed on at Birmingham for another 2 years and was awarded with an MA in fine art in 2019. Working on the image in this carving, you realise that the natural elements of wind and weather are the true sculptors that gave this hawthorn tree its unique and magical shape. John Ruskin, the famous philosopher and art critic, believes that all beauty came from nature. He told us nature is painting for us day after day pictures of infinite beauty, if only we have the eyes to see them. Whether it's engraving a printing block, chipping away at a piece of stone, or painting a landscape or portrait, I make my art for the sheer pleasure I get from creating something. More recently, one of my favourite artists is Grayson Perry, although I sometimes think I like him as much for his wacky views on life and his wonderful sense of humour as I do for his artwork. This is a preliminary drawing in pencil for a portrait of my beautiful 10-year-old granddaughter. The finished portrait you see here is done in soft pastels. In the limestone paving and rocks along the Flaggy Shore, we can see the most beautiful sculptures that have all been created over time by nature and the elements. Thank you for making time to look at my artwork.